Hi, my name is Danny Fleming of the MA Properties team. So today's topic is, why do I want a larger initial deposit if there's no inspection? So it's great not to have an inspection because an inspection is typically where buyers change their mind. Let me just say that one. So it's fantastic you haven't got an inspection. Um, Typically, the initial deposit when a buyer makes an offer is $1,000. Um, Typically, if there's no inspection, then purchase and sales can be within a short period of time from that offer acceptance date. I typically like to do 3 days. If there's no inspection contingency, we can do a purchase and sale within 3 days. But if we've got $1,000, if the buyers have submitted $1,000 initial deposit, they can still change their mind in those 3 days. They can still change their mind. There's not really much money at risk there. Say a home comes on the market on the Thursday and they're meant to be a purchase and sale on the Friday, and they like the look of this other home better than the one that they've got an accepted offer on. We're just defaulting. They're going to default on the contract. So what happens to the offer deposit? Any money that's held in escrow legally, any money that's held in escrow, both the buyer have to agree to the disposition and the seller has to agree to the disposition. So if you've got $1,000, there's not much there, to be honest. And even though the buyer has defaulted, the buyer can still say, I want that money back. The seller can say, rightly, I want that money. Now the two attorneys have to get involved, the buyer's attorney and the seller's attorney. By the time they've written 3 emails backwards and forwards, or 3 phone calls or whatever, trying to negotiate the return of the deposit to their clients, the $1,000 is gone and you're up for, more than that in legal fees. So typically the seller's attorney will advise the seller, but check with your own attorney, will advise your attorney that if the buyer defaults and there's $1,000 at risk, just give the money back. When there's no, to counter that, when there's no inspection contingency, I always recommend my sellers ask for a $10,000 initial deposit. That will flush out the buyers who just want an opportunity to change their mind in those next few days. It happened one time a couple of years back. We had competing offers on a home. There were, I think, 16 offers. The highest offer didn't have an inspection contingency. I went back to the buyer's agent and asked for a $10,000 initial deposit. And I went backwards and forwards with the buyer's agent half a dozen times that night about the $10,000 initial deposit. And it turns out that the buyer's agent finally got back to me and said, it turns out one of the buyers hasn't seen the home yet and they wanted the opportunity to see it tomorrow or the next day and maybe change their mind if they didn't like the home. Okay, no, that's not going to happen. So we went to the second buyer who also didn't have an inspection contingency, and asked for the $10,000 deposit, initial deposit, no problems whatsoever. Because that $10,000 initial deposit, if the buyer defaults, then the seller's attorney will absolutely work for the seller, and the buyer's attorney basically knows that they're not going to get that money back because they've defaulted, and the seller's attorney can get the majority of those funds for the seller because the buyer defaulted. This is really important. It stops the buyers using the opportunity that there's not much money at risk to be able to default. And what the ramifications of that are, if a buyer has exited the contract for any reason, now any future buyers are thinking, what's wrong with that home? Why did that buyer exit the contract? Why? why? I wonder if there's something wrong with the house. Now the value, the price that you're going to get to sell your home is less than what it would have been. So it's very, very important not to have the buyer just change their mind for whatever reason. And one of the ways that we can do that is by asking for a higher initial deposit. Again, I need to stress that's a higher initial deposit only if there's no inspection contingency. Because if there's an inspection contingency, it doesn't matter. The buyer can change their mind and they get their escrow deposit back. This is only valid if there's no inspection contingency and you're going straight to purchase and sale within 3 days. So I hope that made it clearer. If it didn't, please feel free to reach out. My contact info is following, and have a great day. Bye.